What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego. A storm is coming. Conor McGregor, the rematch is here. Poirier versus McGregor 2, only on ESPN Plus. Use my link in the description. UFC 257. I'll see you at the fights.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Bad news. It looks like Teofimo Lopez is being ordered to fight George Kambosos. So the offer to Devin Haney that he recently made is really not going to be any good. And we're going to talk about that in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. More bad news for Devin Haney. So it looks like the IBF, they're making it official and ordering Teofimo Lopez to fight his mandatory George Kambosos. Now, I find this mighty ironic and coincidental. What another coincidence. Ego Stradamus strikes again. Another prediction gone right. Now, this was the rumored fight for Teofimo coming off of the Lomachenko performance where he beat Lomachenko. Lomachenko was highly touted by Top Rank, Bob Arum, and ESPN. And really, I think a lot of Lomachenko's credit was overstated. I think Lomachenko is a good fighter, but they were saying he could beat Floyd Mayweather in his prime, Pretty Boy Floyd, and he's better than Muhammad Ali and all this weird stuff. And, you know, nonetheless, Teofimo and his dad had a great game plan, and they beat him. Fair play. Now, things are getting weird. Ego Stradamus strikes again. I told you guys that the George Kambosos fight would be next, and it looks like that's the way it's going. And I just find it mighty coincidental. You just had Teofimo and his dad, Team Lopez, say on record at the Canelo fight that they wanted $10 million to fight against Devin Haney. And Teofimo's dad even said, get in touch with me, you know, to make that happen. And people felt that was a way to price yourself out of the fight. And I'm sure the feedback that Teofimo kind of received after that interview came out might have been kind of crazy. Devin Haney keeps applying pressure, saying he wants the best. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest. Hit the bell notification icon to get more videos like this and opinions. And Devin Haney, he's been keeping it boxing. He says he wants to fight these guys, Ryan Garcia, Tank, Teofimo, but it looks like he's getting the cold shoulder. Everybody's kind of playing keep away. I think people, they know Devin Haney is a tricky style to beat or something, and it doesn't seem like people are chomping at the bit to fight him. But after that $10 million remark from Team Lopez, I'm imagining, at least from what I've seen, the comments on my page, people said they felt it was a way to price himself out of the fight. So then Teofimo changed it and said, and did an interview. I forgot who it was with, but he did like a recent interview and made a statement basically saying, if it doesn't work with George Kambosos negotiations, then I could fight Devin Haney. And Devin Haney even posted on his social media, you know, like, what's good with this particular fight again after he said that. But what a coincidence. Now they're coming out and the IBF officially orders another alternative fight, a mandatory, instead of the Devin Haney fight. So to me, it's all politics. It's more BS. I think George Kambosos is very clear that, like, don't you guys get, like, aren't you wondering how I keep getting this stuff right on my channel and predicting it exactly how it's going to happen? It's because people, the promoters and networks, they're trying the old tricks that they used to do that maybe people before social media, there was no way to stick their feet to the fire and keep up with everything that was being said. But now, you know, there's people like myself who pioneered the game and made it fashionable to do like digital content, talk about boxing on a daily basis, update you guys with news clippings, things like that. So people are in tune, and we see the games and we see the strategies and who's avoiding who. It's just too much going on in the world. And I think people are going to end up losing some interest in some of these fights because of the politics. It was very clear to see that it did not look like Team Lopez was chomping at the bit to fight Devin Haney. Teofimo was going around, chest puffed out, and he's saying, I'm undisputed. WBC told me I'm undisputed. So if you don't agree with that, then you a hater, which is not true. Because first of all, even before Teofimo had the belt, how does that make you a hater if you're confused about that? Because even before Teofimo had the belt, people were confused when Lomachenko had the belt. So they're hating on Lomachenko, and now since you beat Lomachenko, they're hating on you? Absolutely not. When in fact, it really boils down to the decision that the WBC did to introduce this franchise champion. It wasn't explained well. It makes no sense. It's the witness protection belt. And at the end of the day, it is confusing. It is confusing to have Ryan Garcia with the WBC belt, interim belt. Devin Haney is a full champion, and then Teofimo is the franchise champion. Now, so much to the point where Mauricio Sulaiman, he's saying he's told everybody, and, it's on them. He's not going to get into it. But it's ironic that he's taking this stance. How can you not want to get into it when people are confused and your company, your organization decided to introduce this to boxing when you didn't even need to? That's why I'm glad guys like Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, when he was the WBC champion, he said, that's not something I'm interested. He said, I like when a guy's a mandatory and he's mad because he got to wait and stuff like that and wants to fight me. It'll make me on my A game. I don't need any favors or handouts. I'm not interested, right? But Teofimo is interested because he's going around and telling people that I'm undisputed, And for me, this is just my opinion. I like Teofimo. I like the movement. Picked him to beat Lomachenko before the fight. The videos are still up. But some of the recent statements from Team Lopez are a bit, confusing and concerning. For example, there's just some things that he's doing that I don't necessarily agree with, but to each his own. I'm just telling you my opinion on the matter. For example, he's pretty much ruling out a fight with Lomachenko, saying, nah, I ain't fighting Lomachenko. Oh, well, I'm going to be a dick about it. I'm not fighting him. Okay, what about Devin Haney? Okay, I want $10 million for that. Or, yeah, if the George Kambosos negotiation doesn't work. But, I really feel Teofimo is a smart guy. So he knows that Top Rank wants to make the fight. They're already talking about staging it in Australia. This has been the rumor. A lot of us were born at night, not last night. It's the same game. It's the same charade over and over and over again. And the question that I have, again, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification icon. The question I'm starting to have for some of the top tier, top ranked fighters is, do you think this is just a coincidence that guys get to a certain level and they're always having to explain why they can't get whatever fight with another party's fighter? Like Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford, he's tried to get a fight with Pacquiao even after he left, but it keeps falling apart. So he has to keep explaining to his fans why that fight still hasn't happened and what went, it's the pandemic. Okay, but why did Broner get the fight before the pandemic? Why did Keith Thurman get the fight before the pandemic? And now fast forward to Teofimo. It's the same thing. Teofimo, to me, it's a total momentum killer to go from you just beat Lomachenko, did good numbers on ESPN and ESPN Plus, and now they're taking an American star or someone who has the potential to be an American star, has a good style, and they're taking him out of the country to Australia to fight a guy coming off of 2 split decision victories. And you can argue that he didn't win those fights, like Mickey Bay, and then his fight after that was with Lee Selby. There are a lot of people that thought Lee Selby won that fight. You see what I'm saying? So this is Teofimo's next fight rather than a Devin Haney. And boxing, again, they continue to try to insult boxing fans' intelligence. It's common knowledge that a unification or a consolidation fight should trump any other mandatories if you go through the right protocol, right? Meaning, if you want to fight a guy in a unification or a consolidation and you put in the paperwork with that sanctioning body, more often than not, they will approve it. But these companies, just put it this way. Ask yourself these questions. Every single time there's a marquee star or a marquee name in the sport, and you know their mandatory is somebody who's dangerous and good, we'll say Triple G or Canelo and Jermall Charlo. Conveniently, there's always a way for Triple G to fight Canelo once, fight Canelo twice, not fight Derevyanchenko, not fight Jermall Charlo, his mandatories. Those mandatories weren't met for whatever reason. But now all of a sudden Triple G, he fought Dominic Wade, his mandatory, and that's how they justified it. Just his last fight, he fought Camille Sesmeta, a guy with no punching power and only 5 knockouts in 21 fights. And guess what? That mandatory happened. So what a coincidence. You see how boxing has all these quote unquote coincidences? When Triple G has a dangerous mandatory, for some reason, Derevyanchenko didn't happen the year Canelo failed a drug test when he was initially supposed to fight Derevyanchenko, even though he later fought Derevyanchenko. When Jermall Charlo was Triple G's mandatory, it simply didn't happen. Same thing with Canelo. Charlo was Canelo's mandatory, and they created a new position for him. And here's the same thing. These companies, they know all the things to do right to get medical exemptions and to buy time and dodge this mandatory or make sure that fight doesn't happen. But then when it's an actual good fight or a good unification, all of a sudden the company doesn't know what protocols to go through to push this guy like George Kambosos to the side, pay him step aside money, or say, hey, we were fighting Devin Haney and we promised the winner will fight George Kambosos, etc. That's not what they're willing to do. That's not what they're trying to do. Because in boxing, we know it's about who you know and the politics and relationships. If they really wanted to, they could easily make that a reality. Say, hey, George Kambosos, we got a bigger fight and we got to clear up this whole segment and situation with the franchise belt. But boxing keeps stepping on its toes, shooting itself in the foot. They don't want to make everybody in the know and provide that clarity. The WBC created this cockamamie franchise champion, and now they can't justify it. They're bending the rules, making the rules that they're going. When Canelo's mandatory was an African-American fighter and Jermall Charlo, they said, oh, he don't have to fight him no more. He's done such a great service to boxing. He don't have no mandatory, right? He's the franchise champion. But then when he moved up from 160 to 168, and he said he wanted to fight Avni Yildirim after David Benavidez dropped and missed the weight, and he had to lose the belt as a result. They said, oh, Canelo got first dibs on that fight because he's franchise champion. Now they're saying Canelo's fighting Avni Yildirim, a fight nobody wants to see, against a guy pretty much on a 2-year layoff coming off of a loss. Just like when Triple G fought Vanes Matarosen, 2-year layoff, guy coming off a loss. And now they're justifying it, saying it's Canelo's mandatory. It's just nonstop games. We all know that if Top Rank really and truly wanted to make the fight with Devin Haney, there's things you can do. They can say, hey, IBF, Because here's an example that I just gave earlier. How is it Triple G was ordered to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko the year Triple G was supposed to fight Canelo in May for a Cinco de Mayo weekend? Canelo failed a drug test. Triple G says, hey, I'm still fighting. I didn't fail a drug test. I still want to fight around that time in May, right? And the IBF said, okay, that's fine. If you're going to not fight Canelo because he failed a drug test and he's suspended, then you need to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko. You're mandatory. Triple G said, I didn't want to do that, but he worked out a deal that he could fight Vanes Martirosyan coming off a 2-year layoff and a loss. And then the winner of that fight, which was Triple G, he knocked out Vanes Martirosyan, was to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko. He did not do this because he went straight into the Canelo rematch as soon as Canelo's suspension was over. And as a result, the IBF had to strip him. So how was it the same sanctioning body, Triple G was able to, quote unquote, buy time, not fight his mandatory of, at the time, Sergey Derevyanchenko, and the IBF gave him an exemption or whatever you want to call it. And then he could have kept his belt, but he would have had to fight Derevyanchenko instead of Canelo next. So how come Top Rank can't do that same type of deal? Say, hey, we got to knock Devin Haney off. It's a bigger fight. It's a bigger money fight. IBF, get off our back. We'll fight George Kambosos right after that. Because they don't want to fight Devin Haney. It's very easy to see. They don't want to make that. They don't want to make that. They rather keep the money in-house or, Australia site fee or whatever their rationale is. Cameron Duncan, who used to work with Top Rank, did an interview recently, and he said Top Rank's matchmaker has an NBF, no black fighter list. And that's what it sounds like still exists today, because a black fighter like Devin Haney, that's a great fight. Ryan Garcia just told Teofimo and Devin to fight, even though he's the mandatory for Devin. So it's like, when can Devin Haney get a look? Ryan Garcia became Devin's mandatory, and Devin is being pawned off on Teo, and Ryan Garcia is telling Devin to fight Teo, and then Teo saying, I want $10 million, and I gotta fight, I'll fight you if I don't fight Kambosos. But why can't it be the other way around? See? Games. Why can't it be the other way around? I'll fight Devin first, and then we'll do a deal with the IBF like Triple G did that allowed him to fight Vanes Martirosyan, and then after that, we'll fight Kambosos. It's because that's not in their plans, period. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. I need to see boxing get it right and somebody fight Devin. Win, lose, or draw, he deserves a fight. And Teofimo, he's walking around with his chest puffed out saying I'm undisputed. But you were caught up in the crossfire with this whole franchise that they try to give Lomachenko. And you can say you're undisputed. The WBC can say you're undisputed. But simply put, what they've done, there's another man out there named Devin Haney who wants to fight you. And he said he can say, I have a version of that belt. Teofimo says something to the effect of, they'll say that Tank has the regular belt. No. The regular and super WBA belt has always kind of been in boxing for the last several years. Nobody said that Triple G wasn't the real champion. They all said Triple G was the real WBA champion, and they knew that Danny Jacobs had a secondary belt. And then they fought to consolidate the belts. Just like Pacquiao was the regular champion and Keith Thurman was the super champion, and then they fought to consolidate the belts. So Teofimo said something to the effect of, there's no point to fight Devin because then people will say, oh, hey, but Tank. No, that's not what people will say. And you can do just what Keith Thurman and Pacquiao did. Too many belts in boxing, you two fight, and then now there's only one WBC champion plus Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia won't be considered the real champion if the person has all the belts. The regular champion and the franchise champion, that's going to supersede. That'll be, Ryan's belt is an interim belt. So that's always been the case in boxing. Nobody looked at Dillian White when he was the WBC interim champion as the true champion of the division. We all knew it was Deontay Wilder. You see what I'm saying? So it's an easy fix, but Top Rank and Teofimo gotta want to fix it. And hopefully they do for the sake of boxing, but it doesn't look like it. Ego Stradamus strikes again. Looks like we're getting Kambosos. And that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Order the Conor McGregor UFC 257. Using my link, it does help the channel. And we working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.